Hi, good morning. Here we have our next set of updates. Okay, get right into it. What I've got going on here is, I mentioned as the last little segment, I've already got our 2x8 in place all the way across. Got two of them in place. They're lag bolted into place into that existing 2x8 that was in there. And actually, I've got my block, a block for jacking right down there. And I did have to jack it a little bit yesterday in order to be able to attach this end. I had to bring up the wall a little bit already. You can see, if I can bring the camera down there somehow, you can see from that angle there, that's about 3/8 to 1/2 inch already. I got some shims just in that old beam. And then also, in addition to that, you can see what by doing so, we got an interesting thing going on. If you can see yeah, it's hard to see. That is the string line I have pulled across, representing a straight line, not necessarily level. Excuse me. And that straight line is representing where we want to be if we were going to bring the beam up straight. However, there's an interesting twist to this whole thing, is that when I measured on this end up to the bottom side of our 2x6 up there, it was 108 inches, 9 feet exactly. And on this end I measured up, it was 108 inches, 9 feet exactly. But in the center, it was 107. That means it's an inch lower, even though we're almost straight as it is on the bottom. So what that indicates is that these studs, when they were installed, were cut an inch short in the middle. What does that mean? I have a speculation. I wonder if this wall was built after the upstairs had been finished and the chimney was an addition. It's kind of far-fetched. I don't know. But either way, it's either that or the carpenter had inchitis while he was cutting the middle 2x4s, and then he recovered and started cutting 9-foot 2x4s on the end again. Doesn't make any sense. So we literally have 1 inch shorter 2x4s in the middle of this wall, which is why it's an inch of a sag upstairs as it is already. So, and you might say, well, that's just because the 2x4s were rotting and crushed down here. Well, no, I already checked all that. This is a consistent 2 inches of subfloor up to the bottom of the stud, and you'll see also it wasn't just rotted and then sagged more. This here, yeah, that one's kind of rough, but the measurements were made in other areas where this 2x4 is still integral. That's where I got my 1 inch short measurement. It was 107 there. So let me show you upstairs what's interesting too. I'm walking quickly. I'm keeping the video running. And so what we have is, as I was showing you from downstairs, I had a level line, or a straight line rather, a string line representing straight for that bottom 2x8. But now here I have a string line stretched representing straight for our 2x6, our floor joist. You can see then, if I were to pull a tape on it, you would see then that's our inch discrepancy right there. That's our 1 inch discrepancy right there. So the consensus would be then, well, I need to jack up that wall an inch to get that this floor joist up to where it's supposed to be. Well, that'll be interesting, because then we'll end up being an inch, almost an inch too high on that bottom joist. So now we're going to have to come up with a compromise, because here's one of the issues. Here is the only wall I'm affecting by jacking it up, and then also consequently the floor going this way will also be jacked up by that beam that'll be centrally located in the kitchen. But as you travel further into the bedroom and bathroom areas, we'll see what we've got there. You see that gap? We've got a 9-foot 2x4 touching there and touching over there. And in the middle, looks like we've got an inch sag. So the original, so the wall that divides the bathroom and the bedroom is currently 3/4 of an inch. That's just a 9-foot span. If it was the whole span across, it would be that 1 inch. So here's where you have to use judgment and to split the difference, so to speak, where we're going to do what we can to get the sag out of the area that we're working on, but not so substantially that it makes another area out of whack. Because we're not addressing that area, we're not taking anything apart over there. We need to be reminded to stay on track. This is essentially a kitchen project, even though we found ourselves upstairs pulling out a chimney and pulling out all those walls. If you remember how this was laid out, there was a wall here. You can see the paint line where there used to be a wall. We removed the wall in order for that floor to come up without crushing into the ceiling and wrecking things up in the roof, because that roof line, if I remind you, was already straight. It was straight enough anyways. It did not have and did not share the sag that the floor had. So that's where I'm at. It's kind of exciting. Okay. This is the segment of our daily frustrations. Anyways, what I ran into jacking up this wall, for whatever reasons, would be probably all the plaster lath all tied together makes a pretty tight, it's almost like a sheathing, so that things don't want to move or flex very easily. If it was just a regular stud wall, it would move like butter. But what ended up happening is I was only able to get probably a good 1/2 inch so far. Can't quite tell if you can see the line there. Probably a 1/2 inch or so. It's a 1/2 inch up there in the yellow string line, if you can see. That's not bad. That's actually pretty good. So I'm either going to be satisfied with that, because the next joist over into the next in the room is about 1 inch out of it's got an inch belly in it. So this is the beginning of splitting the difference, and then into the room, then I can go a little more straight, hopefully. Anyways, that's the frustration. The frustration was that, maybe I didn't explain, that my jack is a 12-ton jack, and it didn't quite have enough juice in it, so either I'm going to get a 20-ton jack and try to give it a little more oomph, or be satisfied with that height.